So this emerging workforce is this open workforce, and it's on demand and it's persistent, right? I can get somebody literally tomorrow to help me with something, or today actually, and I can find somebody that I really like and does a great job, and I can just go to them over and over and create a relationship and make sure they understand how my process works. It's both global and hyper local, right? If you're Uber, I can go anywhere in the world and find an Uber driver, but they show up at your doorstep, right? And that kind of thing is really an interesting thing when you talk about compiling teams. You can actually find people that will meet with you in person out of the crowd. The range of skills you can get is really amazing, all the way from kind of grunt workers doing machine learning, data tagging, all the way up to experienced experts who are literally some of the best folks in the world. And then this lifelong learning that I mentioned is, here's the thing. You can always find the latest and greatest trained people in the crowd. You can almost never find them in your organization. Just think about that for a minute. You can hire somebody who's the best in the world, but as soon as you hire them, they actually start degrading and probably are not going to maintain that, and they're really expensive. The workforce platforms are providing low friction access. That's the thing. They're going to start combining this with that machine learning to actually provide you faster and more fluid kind of interfaces to where you can trust them easier. You can actually put together high-performing teams. So there's some really interesting stuff when you look at all the platforms. So I just want to go back to the traditional model real quick, right? In the traditional hierarchical organization, we have HR and middle management, whose job is find and retain the best talent you can. And then the manager's jobs are to use those resources as effectively as possible so that we squeeze every dollar out of that we can and use them and develop the people if it'll help them stay and if it'll help our bottom line. But that's really a side thing. But the whole idea is management's there to optimize that resource. And what we're seeing is the traditional model is really expensive. Overheads range anywhere from 1.5 to 2.7 times the salary. That pays for those HR people, the security, the office space, the benefits, the training. And yet, an Ohio University study shows the average worker productivity is 3 hours out of every 8-hour day, 37%. That, if you multiply all that out, is not a great cost equation. And so what we're seeing is the shift of a portion of that HR and management function moving into these open labor platforms, where these open labor platforms start taking care of the optimization part and actually getting you just the skills you need for just the problem you have. It doesn't all go away, but it's not a total shift, but it's very much this change that starts to accommodate the lifelong learning that's needed and some of the work-life balance that actually the workforce is demanding. So kind of getting to the end here. Open is really the future. If in the old model, we hung on to our intellectual property and our people really, really tightly. And we could do that because we were going to benefit from those for years. The problem is you're probably only going to benefit from those people and those resources for months now. And so really taking on new models of what does it mean to engage workforce? What does it mean to save intellectual property? What does it mean to interact with the rest of the world has to be rethought. And innovation is no longer optional. Before, once you had a nice, viable product, you could sell that for 15 years. You can't do that anymore because the lifespan of almost everything has shrunk to just a few years, if not even months. So the crowd, gig workers, freelancers, they are all rapidly increasing in capabilities on these platforms. These curated communities are attracting people that have a passion. And in fact, some experts say that these platforms are providing workers a way to express their passion and do what they really care about in ways that companies don't, right? You get the Office Space movie, right, that really shows how that sucks the soul out of the worker. And that these communities are taking that passion and they're building expertise and skills within these communities. And then these open methods seem to be extremely effective at finding the valuable innovations by both the skill sets as well as the diversity. Again, there's a ton of work being done out there in technology, and they're pulling it all back to and connecting the dots to where you can get it where you need it, which is the really hard part. And then I have to say, those that don't innovate are going to be left behind. They're going to be part of that 50% that doesn't exist, or actually more. Here are the takeaways from today, and I'm just wrapping up here. If you really want to stay competitive and thrive in today's world of truly relentless change, one, you've got to complete the digital transformation. You've got to find that enterprise installation that works for you, that includes the AI and the automation and those AI factories in the heart set, which for a lot of companies means building from the bottom up, like tearing everything out and coming back in. For smaller companies, hopefully that's easier for you, but it's so easy to just fall into the old trap of I'm just going to build exactly like we did 5 years ago. And then the other is to adapt and leverage these new open talent, open innovation platforms, because they are super, super powerful. I will leave with this, right? There's 3 books I would point you to get you to this next level. One is Machine Platform Crowd by Andrew McAfee and Eric Brynjolfsson. I can say that. Very good at showing how the AI and the platforms and the crowdsourcing all work together to really change everything. Marco Insanti and Kareem Lakhani from Harvard Business School, I've worked with Kareem for a long time now, put together this book, Competing in the Age of AI. It is a must read if you really want to understand what the winners coming out of this new age are going to be, because there's going to be a lot of carnage because once you get into where you're using AI and you're connected, where you're getting that data that then helps you project and helps you get a better product and service the client better effectively, then there's no stopping you. And the last one is the Gig Mindset, which also my friend Paul Estes put together, that really start to give you methods to use this in an everyday way to say, look, we as workers, we as individuals can actually operate with almost like an Iron Man suit of superpowers if we know how the gig economy works, because we can do things that people working as if those things didn't exist can't even dream. I can put a video together or an animation or a graphic or a presentation really overnight with resources that we can grab out of the gig economy. And it's really a way of changing the way we taskify and we put stuff out there. So those 3 books are really great. And I would just say, if all of this is overwhelming, take a breath. That's the world we live in now. And it is changing at a rate that if you're going to want to participate and you're going to want to thrive, there's lots and lots of opportunity because we're connected to a global marketplace. But you got to do some stuff and you got to stay aware of what's going, and what worked yesterday will not work in the future. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to Alex and John. Thanks.